I do this video, ladies and gentlemen, because these are the things that we don't see. These are the things that we don't hear. Hello, YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, I actually have a video that I'm about to release, and it's on pressure canning. But I came across this email that the farmer's wife, right, that's been emailing me, sent me just a few minutes ago, and I have to share this with you first and foremost. And I'm going to ask you to do something, but it's going to be here later on in the video, something that I don't ask a lot, but in this case we have to stick together on this. And no, it's not to donate money or anything like that, but you'll see. And here she says, we are now at 15 days from planting, and oh yes, the stress level is sickening, and I worry about my husband's heart. Now, just that part right there really got to me, ladies and gentlemen. These are the people that feed us, right? When I read this to you, remember that it is coming from a person who has spent her life, and her husband has spent his life doing something that I'm sure they love, but without them, we don't get food at the supermarket, and they don't get nearly enough support for what they do and or recognition. However, I'm sure that they don't do this for recognition. We had high winds and fires 20 miles and 55 miles southeast of our ranch last week. My husband drove to the ranch to watch in case the winds changed. Still no rain, but the news is saying that we have a 20% chance of rain tomorrow. Let's pray that we get some. And ladies and gentlemen, not only for this farmer, not only for this farmer's wife, but for all farmers across the United States, for the times that we're going through right now, with the mega drought that we are experiencing from our Midwest to our Western states, please say a prayer. Say a prayer for these people that spend their lives feeding us. They are heroes, in my opinion. They are heroes. They don't do it to get rich. They do it because they love to do it, and they do it because they're good at it. But sometimes they just need a little hand out in the form of a prayer to get them through the rough times. And if you don't believe in prayer, that's okay. You can skip that. But maybe you can have some good thoughts and send it their way. By the way, this is the farmer's wife who has contacted me from Texas, and I'm actually going to give them a call here in a few minutes after I finish uploading this video, because I have their phone number now. We need 2 to 3 inches to get us on track for planting, and boy, I do hope and I pray that they get those 2 to 3 inches tomorrow. Let it rain, please. If that happens, the farmers will be in the fields around the clock to get everything planted. Our water wells are on all of our land. We pump the water wells for our crops. 2 of our fertilizer bills came in last week. No, not even going to talk about it, she says. That's how much their bill was. She says that it makes her sick to just think about it. And yes, it's a hard time for everyone, and it might get a lot worse before it gets better. She goes on to give us a little bit of her own history, which I am very happy to share with you. I was at the ranch helping last week, and our cattle are not looking good, she says. Our son-in-law down further south and west has been shipping cattle and goats for the last 3 weeks. No rain there for the last 2 years. Yes, it's far worse than the news tells all of you. We had a good crop last year of cotton and peanuts, but the year before was a bust. I've been planting our garden with everything I can think we will need. In addition to that, she's planted tomatoes of all kinds, squash of all kinds, 400 onions, garlic, as much as the flower bed would hold. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just a shame. I mean, I'm very happy for them that they can actually plant their garden and grow enough food for their families for the year. But they're doing this out of necessity, not because they want to. I'm sure that they would rather spend the time that they're doing on that garden on actually getting crops planted and ready to go. But they're doing this out of necessity. But in a way, it's good. It's good that they're able to plant enough to feed themselves. It's like in the Great Depression, those people that had farms and that could plant and grow foods, and they never went hungry. Maybe they didn't have all of the material things that they needed on an everyday basis or wanted, but they always had food and were able to keep their families fed. And she goes on to say, after I get the garden done this week, it's time to can meat that's been in the freezer and needs to be moved to a longer storage. Free up places for another beef that will come from the ranch to be fed for food, and we will sell the other half. So it looks like they go through about half of a beef a year, and then they sell the other half. As my older neighbors will say, time to put up your iron drawers. All this during planting time. I will be on the road back and forth for parts and meals to keep the men working. Yes, I can weld, use a cutting torch, saddle pipe, weld with a wire welder, fix and pull pipe from a windmill, and replace the leathers. I'll tell you what, she can do a lot more stuff and has a lot more skills than I do, or probably ever will have. Climb windmills, not so much, as the last time they had to tie ropes on me to get me off the big windmill due to it felt like the thing was falling with me. It took them a half a day to get her off that windmill. He hasn't asked me to get up on that windmill since then. Ride, rope, work cattle, and operate any and all small farm equipment. I keep the books for him. As my mother-in-law said, a wife is the one that plugs up the holes so the money doesn't run out. I am a farmer after 50 years. I have earned my place in farming and ranching. Prayers and blessings to all. I want to say again, thank you very much for sending me. I think that it's very important that we get somewhat of an insight of what it is like to be a farmer, to be a farmer's wife. I keep saying farmer's wife because she is a farmer's wife, but in my opinion, she's just as much of a farmer and does just as much, right? Because obviously you kind of like read her short resume that she put there, and she's very accomplished. But I do this video, ladies and gentlemen, because these are the things that we don't see. These are the things that we don't hear. There's a place in Texas where I believe she said her son-in-law lives, that hasn't had rain for 2 years. And not only are they hoping for rain tomorrow, but if they don't get rain tomorrow, it could be a bust season for her. Which means too bad for them, right? Because they'll have a bad season, a bad planting season, but even worse for us. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that every single email she sent me, she's pretty much, said, maybe not in direct words, get prepared, because this is not looking good. When you take a look at everything that's going on, I know that a lot of channels right now are concentrating on the war, that's going on, and on stuff like that. But we can't go to war if we can't eat. And if we do go to war and we have a deficit in the food that we have, guess who's going to get that food first, ladies and gentlemen? So start growing your own food. At least know how to put a seed in the ground. I'm no one here to be telling you, because I don't have that much of a green thumb. I kind of like know the things to do, but I'm definitely not in the league that she's in. But at least learn how to put a seed in the ground and see it sprout, and maybe work it through, its planting season all the way through its harvest. That way you know what it's like. Just start out this year with maybe 1 or 2 things. That way you have an idea what's going on. Stock up on seeds. Stock up on things that you need in order to be able to plant a successful garden. Get all of those things now, ladies and gentlemen, because, man, it would be so great. It would be so great if I got an email in 2 or 3 days with her telling me, yes, we've got rain, everything is going great. I'm going to try to keep you updated on the situation for at least this farmer and this farmer's wife as to what's going on with them. I just hope to God that everything works out good and that they have a good season. And not only they, but all farmers across the U.S., ladies and gentlemen. This is what we need in order to be able to sustain our standard of living. What would your standard of living be like if you have no food? I have another video that I have to do. I guess tomorrow I'll probably release like 3 or 4 videos. I have another one that I have to do. It's a reaction video on an email that someone sent me, that when you hear this, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to be like, okay, I'll just leave it at that. Once I put up that video, if you're not awake yet, you're going to find yourself going to the supermarket. even if you are. Having said that, I want to say thank you very much. I know who this person is. Like I said, I'm going to talk to her here in a few minutes. But I want to say thank you very much, and thank you to your family for what it is that you do for us, we the American people. Thank you. You are, in my opinion, forgotten heroes. You are our heroes. Without you, without farmers, there is no America, ladies and gentlemen. Without farmers, there is no America. Think about it. All right? So prayers, please, ladies and gentlemen. Having said that, we will talk to you tomorrow. God bless every one of you.